I do the dropout at the end of the slow fade abruptly like that on purpose now.
No, you don't.
Because it gets a laugh out of
Everyone
you every
says,
time.
You try to convince everyone that all these technical difficulties and the slow fade variations are done with purpose and intent. But I don't know if they are.
Oh, they are.
Oh, I don't know. I don't know about that.
If you could see inside this mind, Drew.
Mr. Worldwide, they've been calling you? What did I say they called you? I don't remember.
I'm not really sure.
It was very funny.
It was a funny joke. Got a laugh out of me. How are you guys doing? We're here. It's Monday. Action Movie Anatomy in the house.
Nice.
In the hizzy.
We're here in beautiful North Hollywood in the Popcorn Talk Studios. Here talking movies, TV, and what was it? TV, film, and...
buckets full of pop culture?
Okay. All right, don't say that. Never mind. I feel bad about revisiting. Yeah, AMA, technically we should probably pull up the tag stuff too, just to give some shout outs. But yeah, we have not been live for a minute now. It's been tough. You guys have obviously known we've been traveling a lot. You've been traveling a lot, busy with work, things like that. So we're very happy to be back, very happy to be live. And it was, almost like a month ago that we talked. I guess it was probably about a month ago that we decided we were going to do Knives Out because of Glass Onion. And now time moves very quickly.
Yeah.
But we still want to talk about it because we love Knives Out. And I'm curious now, as more time has settled in, people probably had time to maybe revisit Glass Onion, maybe revisit Knives Out, and form their full opinion. So before we do that, we got a shout out to our sponsors of the Action Guys: Paul Denuzio, John Getz, Jake Yacovetta, Mac Ryan, Alex and Lucas Shawshek, AJ Lancaster. Big time salute to y'all.
Yep.
Mike Deacon, Bethany Curl, Liam Gilpin, Luke Marshall Haynes, Andrew Hayes, Danny Joyce, Kelsey Kirkland, Sadi Laman Maki, Jeremiah Morris, John Patterson, Eric Ritz, Oscar Ramo, and Cody Seal.
That's a salute.
Big time salute to all you guys. How have you been? We should do a quick little catch-up.
Little check-in.
Little check-in. How have you guys been? Let us know in the chat. We'll obviously sound off in the chat. We'll respond. I'm working on my
very good
influencer lingo.
I've been good. I've been, I've traveled a lot. I looked at my my little app, my hotel app. I was gonna say I've been in hotels just shy of 40 nights so far in 2023. Yeah. So if it feels like I have not been anywhere, guys, that's the reason why.
How many nights have there been in 2023? Like 59 or something like that?
Just shy of 70.
27 days left in the year?
In this year? Somebody, PLD, if you could check on that for us there.
Yeah, that's insane. I know. And honestly, you guys have missed us streaming. But you and I have only hung out like a few times this whole year too, you've been so busy. So we're obviously very happy to be here. You obviously have a hotel app that tells you how many nights you've been in hotels, but do you have the app that shows you like how many countries and cities? Like, do you have one of those apps that you've been to? Do you do that?
I don't.
You should do that, I feel like.
Yeah, I did think about this the other day. This was kind of a funny thought because my parents were asking me about I think I was like, I'm going to Philly for work. And they were like, oh, you going to do anything fun? Mm-hmm. Which is like...
Is that how you talk and your parents talk when you're on the phone with each other? Oh, I'm going to Philly for work. Oh, you going to do anything fun?
It's usually how we talk,
that's sick. I envy that.
That's how I talk to your mom.
What?
Yeah.
That's not how she talks to me.
And I was saying to her, I was like, no, I mean, I'm going to be there for like 36 hours. It'll be like, I'll go and I'll check into the hotel and I'll do my thing and then I'll go back to the airport. So probably I'll get a cheesesteak. Is probably but then I was like, because this is my 9th time in Philadelphia, or like this is my 25th trip to New York. Like they're like the numbers at this point are crazy. My 30th trip to Texas or something. Like,
but you're not going to numerous new places. Is that what you're trying to say?
I just mean,
but still, don't you think because you have gone to so many places, over the last few years. Like
Yeah.
tracking it would be
It'd be fun.
kind of cool.
I counted states. It's actually less than I thought.
Forget that you've been to places, and then you'll go there and you'll be like, "Fuck, I've
Yeah.
already been here."
I think I counted less states than I thought. I've only been to like 30 or 31. I thought I was closer
That's
to.
way more. I think I literally have like a dozen or something like that.
Yeah. So anyway, it's been fun though. It's been a fun few weeks. Went to craps, played some. Went to Vegas, played some craps at the Golden Nugget.
Still drunk. That was 2 weeks ago. Yeah, I mean, honestly, that's
You were missed.
I gotta tell you, when we were at Hags's wedding and Hags' brother Charles came up to me and he's like, "We got to go back to Vegas, man." And then I was like, I know. I was like, "We got to get back to the table." And he's like, I studied your method. Because I went on like 3 separate rolls where I won us a ton of money. He's like, "I studied and I saw you always had the same 2 numbers pointing the same direction, but you never had snake eyes facing out." And like, yeah. And I was like, "Holy crap." I was like, "You noticed all that?" He's like, "I watched closely." And I was like, that was the best part for me. I cannot wait to get back to a craps table. Like,
It was all skill. Clearly.
it was clearly all skill. I definitely won't go back, do the exact same thing, and lose all my money.
So fun. Such a good trip. So that's me. What about you? How have you been the last few weeks?
Pretty good, man. So it's like the whole year. God, I've only done like a few streams this year. I feel like the last time we streamed, I think I just got my car.
Yeah.
Maybe?
Yep.
Yeah. So I love my car. It's been so good to have. Like, I feel like it also came at the perfect time because her and I have both had a few more things to do out and about, and it's nice to just not have the one car situation going on. So that's been great. Snick's been good. Work has been very interesting. It's the quietest pilot season in quotes, in history, and that's because the whole year is kind of pilot season now because of the way streaming platforms work. And I don't know if you guys saw or if you saw the whole Deadline article that came out about casting directors and people paying to do self-tape auditions in casting studios and all that and all the flack. I'm not going to really get into it, but it's just really interesting because it's like, I think during the pandemic, there was a lot of things that people got upset about. Obviously, there were very justified things that people got upset about, and there was other things that people just were upset about, or even just like on a personal level, like I would get more mad about things just because I was in a fucking pandemic, right?
Yeah, bad mood.
And so I wonder if part of it is like because it's such a quiet pilot season and so few auditions are coming in, people are really spending to make sure that they are getting the most professional looking self-tape, which is all BS. But I understand what they're trying to accomplish. I understand why they're paying for it. So I wonder if it's like because there's so few, people are all trying to go spend money on this, or if it's another thing where it's like because there's so few, so many actors aren't auditioning, they're just sitting at home stewing.
Yeah.
And then they're like, you know what pisses me off is when I go spend $100 to get a self-tape done for a casting director who I've never even met for a show that's probably getting 6,000 self-tapes for 2 lines, like something like that. And it's really fascinating. So anyway, all that being said, I guess the point of it was like I've actually been very kind of zen this year about not working as much at the beginning of the year because like every year for the past few years I have always been like, man, I know it's coming.
Yeah,
I know it's coming. And then when it comes, like when it actually hits me, I can never deal with it that well. I always get like depressed or super anxious, or I'm like, oh my God, my life is over. So yeah, it's been nice. I've been like really enjoying myself. I've been getting back into this like exercising, like outdoors more, which has been nice. Bike rides with Snickers, disc golfing, been cooking a lot. Got a PS5. That's been super fun.
Sweet.
I've been watching a lot of tennis, like a lot of tennis. I'm going back to work with Tennis Channel. Actually this coming week, I'll be on The Break. Yeah, doing their digital show. So I'll be there this coming weekend. And then like, it's March now, which is also crazy to say, but March is when things always get busy. Clash starts again. I have a bunch of Clash events coming up. I actually had a cool contract sent over today for a Clash gig that was like pretty exciting. That's outside of CRL.
Nice.
Indian Wells, which I'm planning on going next year. Hopefully, like if I continue to work for and with Tennis Channel, I'd love to like actually go to I love tennis.
Yeah,
it is so fun to watch.
That's awesome.
And yeah, Indian Wells is only a few hours away. So yeah, man, that's basically what I've been up to. Just kind of chilling. I got at the end of the month, I'm going to Boston for the first time ever.
Nice.
So I'm excited about that.
Big fan of Boston. One of my favorites.
Visit my niece, and yeah, life is good.
That's awesome. The other thing I think that is sort of cool to be able to talk about here, just because I realized that over the last several years, most of the time, I don't really talk about my job. my like day job. I like allude to it or I reference it, but it's not like something that I talk about. And I really have been enjoying it lately. It's something I've been like really having a good time with, and I've been traveling a lot for that. And one of the coolest things, for those that don't know, is I work for a toy and game company, and we've gotten really into developing original games and licensed games. So we go and we meet with licensors, everybody from, like Sega or like Crunchyroll, Marvel, whoever, and we talk to them about their properties and wanting to develop things, their IPs, and you have to get the license, you have to sign, apply for it, whatever, and then you design the game. And so we've been doing that, and currently on the market, we've got a Mega Man game, like a board game that we do.
I loved Mega Man.
And it's super fun. Mega Man, we have Contra that's out there. We do that. We have
Contra.
We coming later this year. We have a Street Fighter game we're doing, like a tabletop game.
Classic.
We're working on a Sonic game. We just got the Sonic.
That's insane.
We got
these
the
are huge.
huge.
I mean, if these games are, no offense to you, but like if these games are actually sweet, like that's insane.
The Sonic game is really fun. I played it the other day in the office. We've been designing it and testing it, and I sold it. I sold it in to 2 different retailers. I can't say who yet because obviously that's not out there. But the license announcement came, and it's really fun. I get to go meet we had dinner with the Sega people in Germany. Like it's really fun.
Yeah,
and I get to be around the stuff that I grew up with that was so important as a kid to me. All of those old console games are like my favorite games.
Yeah.
So that's been.
We played all those. I grew up on all of those games.
Yeah, and so that's been really fun. And for those that like anime, we do all this stuff with Crunchyroll, Chainsaw Man, Spy X Family, Jujutsu Kaisen, all these really popular shows. So it's been great, and that's been taking a lot of my attention. I've found it's been very enjoyable to be doing that stuff. So
finding more peace with our lives.
It seems like we're getting old.
Seems like we're getting old. It's good. It's a good thing. It's hard. All right, Marie Zambino, 4-day birthday weekend is almost over. Got to go back to work in the morning. Boo. Well, happy birthday to you. I hope you had fun on your 4-day birthday weekend. Big time salute. What did you do? Did you do anything fun? Tay, I got spring break coming up. I had 2 finals today. Then I got 3 more that I'm done. We're so old. It's already been so long since the concept of like spring break and summer break and even knowing when that time period even is.
Yeah.
And now the idea of like a spring break, I now look at it the way that I think old people looked at it when I was a kid, which is just like, man, 2 weeks to just go and do whatever you want.
Drew, we should take spring break.
We should go.
Hey.
We'll rent a boat.
Hey guys, I'm not going to be working for the next couple weeks. I'm on spring break.
I'm on spring break.
Everybody
guys.
gets it. It's the thing people do. So I'm going to be doing that. If you could have somebody
horribly sunburned.
If you could have somebody cover my work for me while I'm out of town, I'll be on a boat probably.
I'll be on this boat that I'm currently on. All right. Let's see. Hey, Jack. Let's see. Thank you, Kelly. It's Cheese Whiz Steak in Philly. I really want to go to Philly and get a cheesesteak.
Oh man, the good ones are really delicious. There's a place called the Reading Terminal. Reading Terminal is like a market. Like most cities have their big like sort of Pike Place Market in Seattle, that type of thing. Mm-hmm. And they have one called Reading Terminal. It's downtown, and there's like 4 different cheesesteak places in there. But there's one called By George that I'm a big fan of. It was recommended to me. Yeah, and so I go there now when I'm in town. I get one cheesesteak. There's others I want to try.
What do you get on your cheesesteak? Do you do onions, peppers, meat? Cheese Whiz, like what do you do?
I do American cheese, and I do just the steak and the onions. I don't do peppers. I don't do whiz.
Cheese Whiz. You just do the.
I like the
too much.
Yeah, I don't like the whiz. Some places will do both.
Yeah,
that's like you can. There's a place called John's Roast Pork. It's actually fairly near where Quiz Show is. It's like kind of near. He told me all about it. So I saw him when I was there 2 times ago, and he was like, "If you have time to go to John's, trust me." And I read about it. It's like highly respected, one of the big ones. So when I go this week, I may try to get to John's Roast Pork.
God, I love a good sandwich. All right, here we go. I'm doing great. My hands are in a movie. It's a doc, but it's still a movie. Hell yeah, that's really exciting. If you could tell us more about it, let us know, man. They don't call you the director for no reason. Is it a self-tape if someone else tapes it? Yes.
I feel like this, just before we get into Knives Out, I do feel like the self-tape thing is suffering from the same symptom that like many things during the pandemic are suffering from, which is that's the idea that we used to do things in this way that required people to go places and see each other in person. And that was just the way we did things. The idea of not doing that and doing it digitally was like a cheat to the whole process. And nobody on either side really wanted that. Then we got used to doing things digitally in the pandemic, and people who didn't want to go into offices were like, this is actually just as good. I'm just not going to see people in person anymore. Just put yourself on tape. And it's like, that's just not how it works. It's the same in sales. It's the same with like appointments. I don't want to present things on a deck over a Zoom call. Like, hey, this ball that bounces high and smells good, it looks like a round red circle on this PowerPoint.
And I think it also takes away from like, what's that thing that they say about when when that guy or that girl walks in a room, right? Oh yeah, when I saw blank for the first time, when I met him once, he walked in this restaurant I was in, and oh my god, that was Brad Pitt, and it was just like the whole restaurant. Like that thing, that charisma, that like swagger you have in a room, that matters.
Yeah,
like your relationship with casting directors. I think what was really interesting about the 2 Deadline articles that came out on the 3rd were like really fascinating. And I think they actually broke it down really, really well. But like, you know, I think before the pandemic, casting directors and actors used to be almost like a team working together.
Yeah.
And I think this whole self-tape thing has pitted them at odds. But it's not the casting director. It's only the actors being mad at the casting directors because of the situation they feel like they're in. Feels like no one knows you. Feels like you're taping 100 tapes and no one watches any of them. You don't get any feedback. You don't get any sort of relationship with the person. Like, you know, I got called in by the same casting director like 5 times in a row for 2 different shows they were casting. And I got put on a veil 3 times out of the 5. And I didn't book any of it, right? But that's like getting very far in the process. But like, if I would have went in those 8 times, right? 5 times originally, and the 3 times I got put back for the callbacks, I would have met them in person almost a dozen times, right? And like that matters. And so I think that's a big problem. I think they are going to work on like the amount of length that auditions can be. Like they're going to make like a 5-page maximum for a turnaround, or like maybe 5 pages per day or something of like. So I don't know. There's just a bunch of stuff about it. It sounds like they're never going to go back to the way it was, which doesn't surprise me. But I do think it sucks. I do think it's a lot worse. It obviously has its benefits. I think like the new Actors Access thing says live locally, act globally. Yeah. Which I think is pretty cool, but I do think it takes away a lot. Now a role that would have maybe seen a dozen people will see hundreds of people.
I also think too, like that. I mean, years and years and years ago, like when Drew and I first met, I was still going out for auditions as an actor. I was still doing that, and I used to audition with David Rappaport for this show called Make It or Break It a lot. And they brought me in for that show like 4 times, I remember. So this gymnastics show on like ABC Family, I think. If I'm mixing up that show and a different show. Point being, there was a show that I went to his office a bunch of times for, and I never got cast. I never booked it. And then I stopped acting. And a few years later, like 3 years later, if you recall, like 2015 or 16, they reached out directly for me to read for Archie and Riverdale. This is like a long time ago. But I hadn't acted or seen them in years, right? But there's no way that if 4 times I had sent in self-tapes on like jock number 2 for a gymnastics show with 1 line, he would have remembered enough to reach out years later. Like that wouldn't have happened, right? It has everything to do with the fact that you go in, you shake hands, you see the person. There's a little bit of like, and that's the thing that gets lost with the process we have now. So anyway, that's the soapbox.
Yeah. Last thing, Maria, I saw Titanic with my mom. Family dinner out. I owe you gifts for an aquarium day soon, and Matchbox 20 concert.
Sick.
I'm not crazy, I'm just a little unwell.
Right, no, I'm now, I can't tell.
Dude, I love me some Matchbox. All right, so we were here to talk about Knives Out. Knives Out on AMA, Action Movie Anatomy. Ben, Action Movie Anatomy is a show that you and I have done over 250 episodes for. We did it for 5 years. It is a show. It is a long-form discussion breaking down one movie, and that movie must abide to a set of rules.
4 basic rules.
For Action Movie Anatomy. Do you remember them?
Of course I do. Rule number 1. The hero always plays by their own rules. Now, who's the hero of Knives Out?
So, I think if it was just the original film, you would maybe say it's Ana de Armas.
Yeah.
But I think as we've realized is it's going to go on and it's going to be serialized or turned into a franchise, I should say.
It's Benny Blanc.
It's Benny Blanc. It's our boy Danny C.
Nice.
Sick.
Yes, yeah, I don't know if I've ever been good enough.
A little bit rusty.
Love it. That's the show, guys.
That's it, guys.
I'm
Rob Thomas.
Love Matchbox 20. I think that Benny Blanc is the hero, and you have to say that he plays by his own rules. Just in the way that like he's one step ahead of everybody always all the time, which leads into our second rule.
Nice segue.
The hero and the villain are always the smartest people, beings, dinosaurs, what have you in the room. Now, if the villain in this film, spoilers in case you haven't seen Knives Out, if the villain of the film is Chris Evans, Ransom, he's pretty far ahead. He weaves a pretty clever yarn, we'll say.
Is he?
And
yeah, I mean, it's tough because everyone else in the movie is kind of just like a product of their environment, or they're like a victim too. And there's like a little bit of scheming here and there, but no one else is actually doing anything.
Yeah.
It's really only just Ransom, Christopher Plummer, and Benny Blanc.
yeah, yep. Rule number 3: the movie is driven by a police, political, mercenary, or
Military figure.
there you go.
Or you could be working for the man.
Or yeah,
Could be the man or working for the man.
Exactly.
NTA officer in Taking Pelham 1, 2, 3.
exactly. I just watched it again.
I know
God,
you
it's
did.
so good.
I know. We share all the same streaming platforms.
Yes.
I can always see when your dumbass watches that movie.
It had been a few years, and I got to tell you,
One of my favorite things is when you watch some fringe movie or like one of those movies, and I see it on the streaming thing, and I'm like, man, I know he's gonna fucking talk about it. I'm like, I know he's either gonna call me about it, text me about it, or we're gonna talk about it on the show, and it happens 100% of the time. It's amazing.
it's because when I was watching it again, the scene, it's not the I took a bribe scene. It's a great scene. It's the
milk scene.
It's the milk scene.
It's the milk scene.
It's the one that is so funny, and it's like a parody of what we talk about all the time, and that's why I like it so much. It makes me laugh, but it also makes me so happy to watch it. Anyway.
Smithy, no problem, man. Salute. Thank you so much anyway, brother. Okay, so police military, yeah. I mean, he's a detective.
Yes, that's
I don't know where I'm...
a detective.
Benoit Blanc.
I love his accent. And rule number 4: there's a minimum of 1 explosion. There is a burning building in this movie that went up in flames.
There is.
Guess you could say it's not really an explosion, but it's kind of. A building is burning.
Does it have one of those like double explosions things? You know how they always have in movies where it's like, oh, the building's on fire, and they run up to it, and then it blows up again. Close. I can't remember. If
no, they drive up and it's burning.
And it's already burning.
It's already burning.
Like, not even try it, right?
Yeah, I think. I mean, look. The truth is, Knives Out is in terms of like the old rules. It's more fringe.
Close. And that was the last one.
That's the last one.
Yeah.
Okay. Because there used to be the years. We didn't do that anymore. So I mean, those were the rules that we usually stuck to, and I do think
close enough.
Yeah. Definitely. So, the first thing that we like to do when we get into the show here is we like to talk about this thing called thesis statement. It is your biggest, boldest, strongest opinion about the film. And, should be kind of almost like rooted in hyperbole. The best, the only, the first, the last. We try to stay away from things like, this movie has one of my favorite endings I've ever seen in a movie or something like that.
That was mine.
Yeah. I am sorry. I didn't know that.
You have ruined this. You embarrassed me.
I will go first on this one and I put it in the title. I asked this question because I thought about it. This is Daniel Craig's best movie. It is my opinion that this is Daniel Craig's best film. Now,
and a big shout out to our boy. I believe it was Josh Ryan, right?
Yeah.
Who was at the very top, which for some reason I can't scroll up that high. Wait, nope. Do I? I can't scroll up that high. But I do remember seeing it. He was basically saying, I disagree. He said Casino Royale and arguably another of the Bond movies, and then one other film he said were better. I want to see if I can find it.
So the arguments here that you really throw into the Daniel Craig conversation, and I would say the popular ones. Obviously, if somebody loves layer cake, that's their opinion. But the ones that people really talk about,
they're dumbass.
Casino Royale for me is the biggest. That's the biggest rival because Casino Royale is the best James Bond movie. It's really good. It's held up very well. I love that movie.
Yeah.
I would say Road to Perdition, even though it's not a Daniel Craig movie, he's a significant part of it, is really good. That's
in the film.
Yeah. Those are I think the two that are like the most significant. Munich is a good movie.
Munich is good. Logan Lucky is really good. I think it's really good. I think he has a good role in it.
But for me, those are the options, and the reason I say Knives Out, I think is the best. I think it's his best movie narrowly over Casino Royale. Is that I think it's much harder to do this movie in this way well than almost anything else I've seen. Because we have seen people try. We have seen people try to do this and make extremely average versions of the whodunit. Like both of the Kenneth Branagh Murder on the Orient Express films, the original. I mean, there's a lot of whodunits out there. Clue is very popular, but it's to make this movie that is like both funny but also engaging. This is the fourth time I've seen it.
Yeah,
and I'm still so engaged. I'm still so engaged. Like. You know what I mean?
I agree. I think it's the other part to like add to what you're saying is that Daniel Craig is British and he's very good looking.
Yeah.
Right? So like him being able to play Bond was like, can he do it? we'll find out. And it Worthington recently talked about him coming out about how he was playing Bond. He said the hardest thing for him wasn't being cool and badass. It was being suave with like the ladies, right? He was being like that sex icon. And it is hard. Like James Bond is one of those roles, as you've obviously seen now, depending on your age, numerous Bonds in your lifetime, and every single time it's this massive discussion, including right now. Pulling that off is really difficult, but I do think it's more difficult to pull off Benoit Blanc after being James Bond and still being James Bond. Right?
Agreed.
He still was James Bond when he played Benoit Blanc, kind of like an unsexy, bumbling, southern, kind of older looking detective. And then he's like, oh, don't worry, I'm still going to do No Time to Die.
It's like so bizarre, the choice. And I wonder, I don't know this, but I'm curious to know how much of it was like his creation and how much of it was like on the page.
Yeah, I mean, how much, and like maybe it was the type of thing to where Rian Johnson and him were like, man, this type of thing we should maybe know is like, man, this is you're so good for this, and I think you have a good idea. It's just like, but we need to separate you more from Bond. Who knows what it was? Maybe if you guys in the chat, you guys can tell us. But either way, it's hard for me to completely agree. I do think Casino Royale is phenomenal. But I do think it's between those two. I think it's between this and Casino Royale because I do absolutely love him in Knives Out. And to kind of piggyback on what you were just talking about with like Murder on the Orient Express and Clue and like that, there's been a lot of movies that have had really great ensemble casts. I mean, we just saw Everything Everywhere win at, what was it, the SAG Awards, I think. Always Lola won at the
Hell of a film.
Silver State Film Festival. I think this is the greatest ensemble I can think of in a movie. It's packed with heavy-hitting, Oscar-contending actors and actresses from top to bottom, from Anna to Shannon to Curtis to Colette to Evans to Craig, like
Plumber.
Plumber. It's like it's so stacked. It's so good. They have like Don Johnson. He's a guy that's been acting for as long as we've been alive.
Yeah,
you know,
before,
like, this is such an incredible cast. Langford comes in there. I don't know the name of the
son.
The amount of the lines that they have thrown at the son are absolutely incredible. Yeah, I said Curtis, but yeah, Jamie Lee Curtis, who I'm talking about. It's just the greatest. They work so wonderfully together.
Yeah.
Everyone is perfect. No one is ever stealing scenes from one another. They all are just like equally creating this wonderful scene, and it's edited together so brilliantly in the beginning when you meet everyone and the piano and even Lakeith and the extra deputy who's the only person that made it into
the second
Glass
film.
Onion other than Daniel Craig because he's so good as he's like shh, shh, shh.
Yeah.
When he like quiets and he's like no, no, no. And he's like let him tell him. So good. I love this cast, and I think that's one of the things about what you're talking about is like after watching it 4 times, it's so good because everyone is so good. Even the little bit of time you get Plumber, you're like, I love that man.
Yeah, there's a lot about the different characters and what you get out of them because you get maybe like 8 to 10 minutes screen time tops with most of these guys.
Yeah,
you know, they're only in the movie briefly, and the way that he like uses. Like Michael Shannon is so well cast, and he does such a good job in this movie.
The scene of him in the
hallway. It's just so. It's like,
and then I have those resources.
Yeah,
and he's like, well, no. He like starts freaking out.
He's incredible. I mean, he's so good. I do think maybe of all of them, my favorite might be Don Johnson, only because I think he's such an idiot and like in such a funny way. Yeah. Like when he calls.
Everyone loves their father, right?
He calls. Yeah,
no, they absolutely do not.
No, they very much do not. I'm not sure why I said that. He calls her over and he starts asking her about immigration, but then he hands her the plate.
It's from Uruguay. Yeah, he hands her the plate. I love. Yeah, his stuff is. Come here, sweetheart.
He's just such a piece of shit. It's incredible.
Yeah, I don't know who I like the most. Like Toni Collette dancing around and Jamie Lee Curtis like pulling her hand away and not even like breaking her conversation or her eye contact is like incredible. Jerking off to Syrian refugees, lines about like the kid in the bathroom. Like there's so much about this cast. Everyone is so perfect. But then they also have like this great thing where you see the crack in all of them. Like you see the human side to all of them, whether it's him cheating on his wife, her getting caught for stealing money, Jamie Lee Curtis realizing she's being cheated on, like all of it. There's so much. It's the best ensemble I can think of. And And I almost feel like that's the other one that I was thinking is like this is the best whodunit of all time.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like it's a much more bold statement to talk about ensemble cast because there's so many great ensemble casts.
Yeah.
But like every time I watch this one, I'm blown away. And I think when you watch Glass Onion, it's not even close to as good.
Well, the other thing about this movie, and I think the thing about this movie that I like so much with the cast compared to other, because there are tons and tons and tons of
great whodunits.
And I was gonna say there are tons of ensemble casts that have much bigger heavy hitters than this movie in the way that like
absolutely
like you have movies that come out like a
Inception.
Yeah, or even Amsterdam. Like that movie is just stacked, right?
Yeah.
Corner to corner. These directors that get everybody. But what's tough about that is when you have such famous people who are such movie stars playing these little roles where they don't have very much to do, it's distracting. It's like I wanted Brad Pitt to have more than his 4 minutes in that movie. I wanted, you know what I mean? Like it just happens, and it's like it's very hard to see them as anything other.
Yeah, everyone was kind of like the perfect level of fame in
Yes.
this movie. I think is another fascinating thing. And then the most famous person in the movie arguably is Evans or Craig.
Yeah.
And Evans is in it like the least, and then Craig is like the main character.
Yeah, that's what I think is so brilliant about the casting. I can see, like, I'm not seeing, Don Johnson, Miami Vice. I'm not looking at Jamie Lee Curtis and thinking about, Halloween. I'm not looking at these actors and thinking about their iconic roles. They feel very much like they're inhabiting the character space effortlessly.
I think maybe Toni Collette's my favorite.
She's so good.
So wonderful. All right, so moving along, talking about these guys. We talked about Daniel Craig and Ana de Armas, so let's get like a little bit more into what they were doing around the time that these movies came out. So looking at Daniel Craig, he did a movie called Kings in 2017.
I saw it.
Logan Lucky.
Yep.
And then he did Spectre. Other than that, it was like, his appearance in Force Awakens. Kings? Saw it?
I did. So I reviewed. This is back when I was just getting into reviewing stuff. So I reviewed it. I saw it as a screener. They sent it to me as like a digital link.
Him and Halle Berry.
Yeah, it's about the Rodney King riots. Yeah,
okay,
it's a fine movie. He's like a drunk, and she lives next door, and it's
he's American.
Yeah,
yeah.
It's I think he is. It was a fine movie. It wasn't like it was great. It was just fine. The interesting thing about it is that period you're talking about is the thing where the Bond actor is trying to do other stuff while being Bond, and it's a really hard thing to do.
It is, but he does Logan Lucky as well, which I actually think a lot of people liked. I think Logan Lucky is a tough one because I think people kind of did what you're talking about and they almost outsmarted themselves. That's what I did. I was like, oh, that's just James Bond trying to be weird and different in a different movie with these other people that are pretty famous right now. And I actually think Logan Lucky is a pretty dang good movie. I think it's pretty underrated. And then Spectre,
it's really bad.
It's pretty bad.
Yeah,
it's pretty bad.
It's pretty bad. I mean, this period of his career, he's got the cred. He's got he's been Bond a few times already, so he's real famous, and he's just trying to do the other stuff. I mean, he swings for the fences with this one, and he hits a gigantic home run. And Logan Lucky is good. I just love Steven Soderbergh, dude. He's like that guy has done so many interesting movies in his career. Talk about a guy that just like takes chance after chance after chance. What a cool career.
And that's the thing is I think that's why people will always watch his movies is like you're going to see something interesting, something unique. Ana de Armas on the other side of it, the other lead of this, she's like just about to become a massive superstar, but she's not there yet.
Well, because this is 19, so what? 17 is Blade Runner.
17 is Blade Runner and War Dogs and stuff, and that's when people start paying attention. But between Blade Runner and this movie, she does Corazon, Entering Red, The Informer, and Wasp Network.
Interesting. So, so clearly movies that she had probably been shooting before or during the time she's doing Blade Runner.
And then it's like Knives Out comes out, then it's Sergio, then it's The Night Clerk, then it's No Time to Die, Deepwater, The Gray Man, Blonde, right? So she literally is ascending into superstardom.
Can we talk about Deepwater, please?
I saw it the other day, and I was trying to think of something dumb to turn on as I was going to sleep, and I almost turned it on again.
I would watch Deepwater again because I found it now in memory to be so stupid and funny. Like,
if I could watch it on a stream that could not be recorded in any way on any device, I would do a live drunk watch along with you and watch that movie and try to kill a whole fifth of something.
Yeah.
It would be the greatest thing ever.
We would have to have a like drink every time Ben Affleck like looks angrily at his wife or something like that. Like
yeah, like there's so oh my god.
Every time Ana de Armas does something sexually inappropriate in front of Ben Affleck,
blacked out like 3 minutes in. What's up, PLD? Big time salute to you. I can't call any Daniel Craig Bond movie bad. I just can't. Yeah, even Quantum of Solace is very much watchable. Yeah, I just don't know if I agree with you, unfortunately. But I do know what you're saying, because I do love him as Bond, and I do like watching him be James Bond, but like, I just don't ever want to watch those movies again. I'd rather just watch No Time to Die, Skyfall, and Casino Royale over and over and over.
You and I think, both agreed on the rewatch of Skyfall recently. That movie's great.
It's very good.
It's not as good as Casino Royale, but it's much better than I had thought the first time I watched it. I really like Skyfall. And I also really like No Time to Die. I haven't seen it since it first came out, but
it's sweet. Yeah. I watched it twice now, and I do really like it. God, I can never get over the production design of the first time he meets Rami Malek at that big table in this complex. It's like such a beautiful room. All right, so moving along in the show, we're going to get into production development section of what old AMA used to be, but what I want to do is, instead of that, Rian Johnson.
Yeah.
He is one of the most, I guess, controversial because of Rise of Skywalker.
Yeah, or Last Jedi.
I mean, Last Jedi.
Yeah.
One of the most controversial and one of the most heavily working, heavily respected, most likely to win an Oscar one day for writing or directing people out there. Are you in on the Rian Johnson train? Are you buying him? Are you selling him? I know you haven't been watching Poker Face, but I have. Do you think he will always be chasing this moment of Knives Out and like Looper? Do you think the beginning of his career is going to always be better than the end of his career?
Oh, I'm buying him super heavily for a couple different reasons. I think probably the biggest of which is that he's not that old. Like he's, he really got his start making that movie Brick in the mid 2000s, and it was kind of a sleeper hit, like a festival hit. It had Joseph Gordon-Levitt and like a few other recognizable faces, but for the most part, Lucas Haas, I think. But I think for the most part, it was it was like an indie, and it did well, and people liked it, and from there, he makes, obviously, Looper, this movie called The Brothers Bloom that's kind of underrated. It's pretty good, actually. And then, obviously, Star Wars, right? So he's made a lot of interesting and weird choices, despite the fact that he's had success. Mm-hmm. He hasn't made safe choices, really, ever. And that's the thing about him. That's why I would be buying, because even the things that people don't like personally, I'm the defender of it. I really, really like The Last Jedi. There are issues with that movie.
I haven't watched it since theaters. Honestly, I think I've only watched The Force Awakens again.
Yeah.
And the off one, Rogue One.
Yeah. I got hammered when I saw the first time that I saw
Force Awakens?
No, Last Jedi. So I passed out for like 20 minutes in the middle of the movie. So then I went back the next week and watched it again in theaters. But I really like that movie. But point being, he's not a guy who has done that thing that a lot of folks do when they find success in Hollywood, where they go, okay, I've made these controversial choices. There's an easy path that's being offered to me to make a bunch of money. I'm going to do it. Like Tom Hanks making the Da Vinci Code movies is a good example. It's like, you're just like, why? It's like, because you got paid a ton of money.
Because they're phenomenal.
Yeah. It's like, because I'm sure you got paid a ton of money, and you knew you're going to have a franchise, and you're Tom Hanks, and you've done all this cool stuff already. So like, yeah, take the money, take the easy choice. Guys do it all the time. And Rian Johnson is one of the few directors who really seems to have no interest in doing that, which is why I would buy the rest of his career for sure.
I don't know what he's working on right now other than Poker Face. I think Poker Face is the safest thing that he's done, but I think it's also, I was trying to explain to Ash, like, Poker Face is, I think, the best example of what a modern day respected procedural looks like.
Yeah.
Now, and that isn't to say that like Law and Order SVU and CSI and Blue Bloods and all that aren't like respected, but they're just not quite on the same level as like hour-long streaming exclusive content on streaming platforms. Like they're with like a big star.
Yeah.
Like Natasha Lyonne is a pretty big star, right? And the guest stars they're getting are massive for every episode. So I think it's like the best thing because you get his funny writing, you get his clever writing with the mysteries every single time. She's great in it, and every single episode is a bite-sized, separated piece of itself. Like the first episode sets the whole show on its tracks, and then every episode otherwise you could just pick up and leave, which is I think is really great. And that's what you want out of a good procedural, right? You introduce the crime, you figure out what happens, she figures out a cool way to solve it, you either like the characters or you don't, and then boom, we move on to the next one. So yeah, later PLD, later Party J.
Party J.
I'm with you. I am totally buying on Johnson for the rest of his career. I do wonder if at the end, when it's all said and done, if I'll look back and Looper and Knives Out will still be my two favorite things. I wouldn't be surprised. Yeah. Because I do think that they're that good. I'm obviously going to buy on him, but I do have that little caveat of I think maybe he might have already done his best work. I
Already
hope that's
peaked.
not the case. I don't know about peaked, right? Because he wasn't ever super famous when when Looper came out, and then Knives Out again, he was like on his ascension. I feel like right now he's kind of peaked. Later, Kelly, or peaking, I should say. But anyway, yeah, I love Rian Johnson. I think he's the best. So
I think he'll be. I just wanted to say he's going to be remembered no matter what else happens, no matter how famous these movies get. He'll be remembered for Star Wars above all forever, just because of the size of it.
Yeah.
It's so hard for anything to ever eclipse that, and it's so controversial. It's such a controversial Star Wars movie that
you think he'll be remembered for Star Wars above all of it? I don't know. I don't know.
I just think it's no matter how good this franchise is, even if they make like 6 of these, I still think Star Wars, and also because that movie over time is getting slowly but surely more revisited and people are liking it more. I actually have said many times, I think in like 10 or 20 years, Last Jedi is going to be one of the 3 or 4 most respected Star Wars movies. I do think people are going to give that movie the credit it deserves. Mm-hmm. But it's that or this, because I don't know that he'll be able to come up with something else original as good as this. Like, even if it was great, I feel like it would still be just compared to this. You know, it's a very, very tough precedent that you set when you come up with something this unique. Mm-hmm. So I don't know, but I'm with you. I'm buying. I just want to see what he does.
So I jumped ahead with that because I wanted to maybe end on our fun moments.
Yes.
On the favorite line, because we are going to get out of here relatively soon. So the next thing on the show, Ben, is fist pump moment.
Fist pump moment. It's that moment something happens and you look around and you're like, are you guys seeing this right now? I'm so in on this movie. Yes. And this one for me is pretty hype because I was watching the first, it happens in the first 25 minutes for me.
Okay.
30 minutes in. So Benoit Blanc is talking to Ana de Armas and he flips the coin and he says, describe to me what happened. And it shows the scene of her with Christopher Plummer and the 2 medications being switched.
Yeah.
My fist pump moment is the minute he hangs up the phone with his fingers and he looks at her and he's like, we don't have a lot of time.
Yep.
I have 6 minutes and he lays out the whole everything for her. And you can because for me, it's the lead up. It's her crying, looking for the naloxone.
Yep.
And she's so devastated. She does a great job in that moment.
She's so good.
She's so
good in that moment.
And he's so good. He's so calm. Like he plays the role of a guy that writes like murder mysteries so well.
And the way that it unfolds, like he's starting to write down like how interesting it is. And she's like starting to really panic as it's happening. And then the moment of realization, that's such a good fist pump moment.
It's just, I love as he starts to lay out what she's going to have to do. It's such an exciting place for this movie to go. That's like when I'm like, buckle up. I'm fucking all in on this movie right now.
It is like the definition of like the best way for a movie to start. And like the definition of like the best first time ever viewing fist pump for this movie. Because I agree. I remember the first time that happened watching it, I was like, oh, this is where this movie is going. This is fascinating. My fist pump is on the exact opposite end. Mine happens in the final 2 minutes of the movie.
Okay, gotcha.
And it's just like, so in the final, 5 minutes of the movie, everything wraps up. You figure out it's ransom. He tries to stab her. You figure, she gets the house. Everyone's outside. It's the moment where it all kind of is wrapping up. Sweet Virginia comes on from the Rolling Stones. The whole entire ensemble is in the driveway.
And she's up on the
balcony. She's up on top. Yeah. The music, the looks, the cigarette, all of it. You're just like, holy shit. It's just like at the end of Breaking Bad for me. The song with the moment, with the feeling, with the closing shots. You're just like, holy shit, they did it.
Yeah.
They landed it. They stuck it. A 10 out of 10. It was hilarious. I was all in the whole time. I didn't know how it was going to end. I didn't know who it was for the longest time. And then like it ends with a beautiful song, a beautiful picture, and it's just like, wow. Like I love this movie.
It's also like a movie that doesn't take itself seriously enough that when it's over, you can feel anything other than that was fun.
Yeah.
That's like how you feel when the movie's over, which is ultimately probably why the franchise got greenlit and Netflix paid so much for it, because when you finish watching this movie, it's not like, wow, what a story and it's wrapped up. Oh, there's going to be a sequel. I don't know if I need a sequel. It's like, you're telling me I get another of these?
Yes, exactly.
I'd do that again.
And that's exactly how I feel about Poker Face.
Yeah.
Right? That's why I feel like it's the perfect procedural. It's like I didn't watch last week, so I was busy, and I'm already like, oh yeah, I can't wait to go watch it because it's going to be an hour of fun. The donut hole is the best moment. Okay, I got to go watch Knives Out again. It's been forever. See, this is like why you and I love doing this show is when you and I, from back to the first time we ever did AMA, when people in the chat would say like, oh my God, I need to go watch this movie now.
Yeah.
That's why we love doing this show. Gets, that's perfect segue to our next section, which is the best line of the show or of the movie. That's the best line.
The donut
His
hole?
whole monologue about the donut with the donut hole, but it's not a hole, or it's not it's actually a holed donut. It's not a donut hole inside of a bigger. Like, the whole thing is so goddamn stupid.
Yeah.
And he's so locked in. And if the captions are on, you look at hold donut hole in donut. Like, it's just hilarious to even see it written out.
Yeah,
like,
yeah.
I'm sure when Craig read it the first time, he's probably dying laughing. That is the best line. It is by far and away the best line for me. It's so amazing.
I like a lot of the lines, like the digs they throw at the sun. They're a lot of those are really funny. Like, that shit kind of kills me. I also, another thing that I really like is it's the exchange where Chris Evans and Ana de Armas are at the diner, and Evans is bullshitting her, but he's talking about how Harlan told him that she beat him more at Go, and you can see the way he's like taking it seriously. And it actually does bother him. And he and like Harlan said it because he knew that. Like, and it tells you something about the relationships and the characters in a really unique way that I think is very smart writing. And I also think Evans is just good in this movie. I think he's an asshole when he needs to be an asshole. He's
very believable in the diner.
He's believable.
He wins you over.
He does.
Yeah.
He really does. Like, he just does a very good job.
I also love the line that Plummer says, why are men always tugging at their parachutes?
The strings dangling from their parachutes.
It's such a good line because it's so true.
Yeah.
We always do like to, things get too comfortable, too safe. We always like to poke it a little bit.
Yeah.
So those are our favorite lines. I really love this movie. I think the Rian Johnson conversation was literally just for both of us to kind of gush about him for a minute. I do think he's one of the most exciting people out there. I'd love to work with him one day. That's like a dream of mine, to work with him, be on one of those sets. I mean, I was almost on Poker Face, so it's like I'm close enough, right?
Is that true?
Yeah,
I didn't know that.
Yeah, I auditioned for it.
Oh.
I was up for episode 2. I was up for the sandwich guy, who dies in the first 15 minutes.
Spoilers!
The audition was the whole first 15 minutes of that episode.
Oh, wow.
It was like the whole thing because it's all him. But I remember getting that audition and just being like, oh my God.
Yeah.
That's Rian Johnson. Like, I could be working with him. So, fingers crossed, maybe it happens this year. But either way, that is our show on Knives Out. There is one last thing to do, and that's called
The Pitch!
I don't think we actually have one, but I didn't want to miss it.
That was great.
That was a good one.
That was a very good The Pitch.
But, we had a Patreon post a while ago. Maybe we'll make another one for just suggestions. You guys can let us know in the chat. Let us know in the comments section. I don't know. You're going to be out of town next week?
No, I'm here next week.
You're here next week.
I am here on the 13th, I believe, unless I'm mistaken.
Okay, so you're here on the 13th. Let's just do this. We'll do it live. So the 13th, you're here. The following week is the 20th.
That one I think I might be gone for.
So you're gone the 20th. I'm gone the 27th. And then I think we'll both be back the 3rd. Actually, I might be gone the 3rd because that's right before my birthday. So, yeah. So it looks like we'll be here maybe the next week. Gone for like 3 after that. So, anyway, all that being said, sounds like we'll be back next week to do another show with you guys. This is super fun to talk about. We'll think about it. I'm trying to think, is there a movie that is like we should be doing? I mean, Plane is a pretty obvious one.
We could definitely do Plane. I mean, so the new Scream, you and I'm going to see it tomorrow night, obviously. You're my +1 if you want to.
Oh, I forgot about that.
But the new Scream, so we could do a Scream movie.
I think I can go tomorrow.
Yeah?
I think I can.
Yeah. So
Maybe we could just do the new Scream.
We could do the new Scream. The one thing I always say...
Knock at the Cabin.
Yeah, we've said this forever. We should definitely knock it, because it's M. Night. We should just that's a slam dunk. Like,
all right, well, you and I will talk it out. If Scream is really good, we'll maybe do Scream, but also it's one of those things where we hate doing it too early when no one's seen it. It's a lot harder for you guys to interact. Knock at the Cabin, we could just do, but we'll discuss. We'll be in touch with you guys. But
you know what else we could do?
What's that?
The Happening.
The Happening. Well, what do you mean?
Just saying.
What do we care about the bees? All right, guys. Is there anything else you want to say before we get out of here?
No, it's nice to hang out and do this with you guys. We'll continue to be here on the weeks that we're able, and more than anything, we appreciate you guys continuing to tune in and hang out with us.
Yeah. We miss you guys. We love you guys, and a big shout out to our generals.
Yes, quiz show, Public Enemy #1, Kaiju, ACP, Robin, Kimura, Moses, Galactus, Bartab, Party J, 24601, Desperado, The Slap, and Godfather. Big time.
Salute to you guys. A lot of fun hanging out with y'all. Let us know if there's anything specific you want us to cover. We'll see you next week.
Bye, guys.